If you like baseball and watch ESPN, you probably know Tim Kurkjian. Even if you aren't a baseball fan, you still might know him. Tim is highly recognizable because of his height and the sound of his voice, which he has no shame in hiding.
I knock on the door and I say, "Hi, I'm Tim Kurkjian with the Dallas Morning News." And he takes one look at me because it's 1981 and I'm about 3'11", and he says, "Okay, I'll go get you your money." So he thought I was the paper boy, and I had to explain, look, I'm really not the paper boy. I'm a real reporter with a real newspaper.
Kurkjian always knew he wanted to spend his career being around baseball. But while playing for Walter Johnson High School in Maryland, he knew he probably wouldn't make it to the big leagues. So he decided he'd become a writer. And after graduating from the University of Maryland, Kurkjian began working for his hometown paper, the Washington Star. But the Star folded just 3 years later, so he moved over to the Baltimore News-American. But they folded just 2 months later. So Kurkjian moved to Dallas, and then back to Baltimore, and then to Sports Illustrated before finally settling in at ESPN. He still writes a bit, but he's mostly known for being an analyst on Baseball Tonight, where he shares the desk with former major leaguers like John Kruk, Aaron Boone, and Curt Schilling, and he has to sound just as knowledgeable about the game as all of them.
What's it like then sort of establishing and maintaining your credibility with guys that are sitting next to you that played and coached in the majors when the highest level of competitive baseball you played was high school?
Right, it's really hard, especially when you're my size too, because people look at me and go, what could he possibly know about this? He's a dinky little sports writer. And that's completely above ground to say that. I get it. That's why I have to work extra hard.
You used to keep a notebook full of baseball stats and box scores. Can you tell me a little bit about those books?
Yeah, when I went to Sports Illustrated, I became a national baseball writer. So I'm not covering a team every day on the beat. I got to cover all the teams. So I figured the best way to do that was to keep a day-by-day book, which I write down every single day what every single team did. And I cut out every single box score of every single game, every single day, and tape them in all these notebooks. So I would have my box score book with me and my day-by-day book with me wherever I went. Well, I did the box scores for 20 years, and I never missed a day. And I mean, not one day did I do 2 days in one. I did it every day without fail. It was a better streak than Cal Ripken has ever done.
So you don't do the box scores anymore, you just do the day-by-day?
No, I stopped doing that 5 years ago, in part because all my box score books I put in my closet, on the top of my closet where I keep all my clothes, and the weight of my box score books actually collapsed my closet one day, and I got home from a road trip and all my suits were on the ground just covered with plaster because my box score books were too heavy and it had collapsed my closet. I think that was a sign from God. Tim, that's enough. You've done enough box score cutting out in your life. It's time to become an adult. Let somebody else do that.
You started off as a writer, as you've said, especially in newspapers. How then did you get your start in broadcasting?
When I was at Sports Illustrated, CNN came in and said, we're starting a new channel called CNN SI, and all of you writers are going to go on TV. So I said, well, I don't want to go on TV. I don't know how to do that. I don't want to do that. And they said, well, you don't have a choice. You're on. So I said, well, you're going to teach me how to do this? And they said, well, there's no time for that. You're a writer. You'll figure it out. You're on. So that's how my TV career began. They just said, let's go. In 1998, when I started wearing a tie to work and a coat and tie and a suit and going on TV, my writer friends looked at me like, what are you doing? You're a traitor. You can't go over to the broadcast side, okay? There are the writers here and the broadcasters there, and they never meet in the middle. And yet here it is 17 years later, and all the writers are on TV. They all have their own radio show.
When I was growing up, my dad always told me, do what you love so that when you go to work, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, and people say that to me all the time. I get asked all the time, you have the greatest job in the world. And the good thing is I realize that I have the greatest job in the world. I mean, I get paid to go to baseball games for a living. Now, it's a lot harder than people think it is. It's a lot of time away from home. It's a lot of hours. And that's always the challenge, getting to as many games as I can get to and still be in Bristol for Baseball Tonight and still do everything I need to do with the other parts of my job, and frankly, be at home with my family as much as I can also. So there's always about 6 balls in the air every week.
A couple of years ago, players started imitating the way you talk.
Tim Kurkjian, ESPN, talking with Niger Morgan here. Thanks, Aaron.
I can't believe we're still doing this. This was 2 years ago.
What was your initial reaction to that?
Well, initially I was worried because I thought I looked like a cartoon character, and I thought my credibility was going to suffer greatly from it, that I was going to become the laughingstock.
I'm so excited to be here in Arizona. Isn't it beautiful?
But I recognized pretty soon afterwards that people actually liked this.
I saw Corey Hart in the clubhouse. I'm talking about his knee surgery, getting an update.
And my boss here, who's the best TV guy I've ever met in my life, said, Tim, I hope you're okay with this, because this is TV gold. This is what people want to see because it's real.
Now, obviously, in this staff, we have James Shields, who threw 11 complete games, which is unheard of in this day and age.
I love it that my teammates, Aaron Boone, Rick Sutcliffe, Terry Francona, John Kruk, laughed their butts off about this. And that made me feel like, all right, it's okay. Also, on a slightly different level, this is the hardest game in the world to play. Being around it all the time, if you don't have a little bit of fun with it, it will tear you to pieces, believe me. And we laugh at the players all the time. And if they want to laugh at me once in a while, I'm not about to say, hey, you're not allowed to laugh at me. When they say, hey, you laugh at us all the time, I'm in. And I also realize I think they're laughing with me at this, not at me. And even if they are, I don't care. It's pretty darn funny.
Yeah, you really have a good sense of humor and sort of self-deprecating in a way.
Well, you have to be. This is what my father taught me. Look, you should be able to laugh at yourself. You shouldn't take yourself too seriously. You should take your job seriously and your career seriously and your life seriously, but you can't take yourself too seriously. And I've never done that. And let's face it, with the way I look, height, voice, if I take myself too seriously, I'm in a lot of trouble anyway. So this is who I am. This is what I got. If it's not good enough, that's the way it goes. But no arguments here.